We have been appointed to suffer. Paul told the Philippians, in Philippians 1:29, it has been granted to you on behalf of Christ, not only to believe on Him, but also to suffer for His namesake. Christ has called us to that, to suffer for righteousness' sake, and to suffer for the name of Jesus. And that's something we all must be willing to do. I remember hearing the story of a Christian apologist and theologian who had been talking to a guy for months and months, had answered all of his objections, had defeated all the arguments, and he finally asked him, do you want to become a Christian? And the guy said, yes, I do. And the guy said, okay, here's 10 reasons not to. And he talked to him about this very thing. You have been appointed to suffer for Christ's namesake. And even though in America we tend not to suffer on this level, the time may come where Jesus asks that of you. And we need to examine our hearts and see, is there a willingness to lose everything for His namesake? God may call upon us at some time to be willing to lay down our lives. And it's important for us to remember that the early church recognized this, that obedience to God is more important than life. Why did so many of those people go to the Colosseum and to the stake and go to all sorts of horrible deaths? Because they refused to disobey God's law. They would not say, Kurios Kaisar, Caesar is Lord. They wouldn't push that incense. They would rather die than disobey God. Does that desire exist in us? Does that conviction exist in us? We need to recognize that though we may be safe now, the time may come when God calls upon you to really test where your highest loyalty is. But when Jesus calls a man, He bids him to come and die and to lay his life down and to give his entire heart, life, soul, and desires to Jesus. We must be willing to do that. My final point of application to us would be this. Paul's absolute heartache in wanting to know how these people were is really a fulfillment of the high priestly prayer in John 17. What I mean by that is Jesus prayed that they would be one, united together, that the world may know that God sent Jesus into the world. There was no time that Paul, though he was separated by distance, there was no time that he did not believe he was part of that Thessalonian church. And his heartache to know how they were doing was because of the oneness that was fulfilled because Jesus prayed that it would exist. He said, Father, I want my people to be one, even as you and I are one, that the world may know that you sent me. That's why he had that kind of heartache. When you see your Christian family, your Christian brothers and sisters teetering on the edge of sin, does that shatter your heart and bring tears to your eyes and make you go home and get on your face and your knees before God for the sake of those brothers and sisters? He did to Paul. This is a fulfillment of the oneness that was spoken about this morning that Jesus prayed for, that we would have. So I would encourage you, let your heart be completely knit to your Christian family. When they rejoice, you rejoice. When they weep, you weep.